All of us, of course, have seen and heard what has happened with 2611, but it's been from an outsider's perspective. You have been able to interact with the survivors, get an idea of the issues they faced. So, could you briefly tell us what was it like for you emotionally to be able to engage with them, to be able to rehabilitate them?
See, when the project started, I was working with TISS, that is Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and the project ended after 6 years. But the biggest problem was to move on. The project ends, but what about the people who are working with the survivors? So I was there working with the survivors. Uh, I had witnessed their misery, grief, pain, suffering, everything. So just removing their numbers from my mobile was very difficult for me. And I just thought of moving on with them and give a voice to them. So I started working with them, and I collated a group of people through Facebook from a friend circle, and we started helping the survivors. And then as I moved on, I saw that disaster recovery in itself has to be uh, worked upon. We have a disaster management cell, we have several things coming up, we have progressed also in this, but yet I feel that disaster recovery is still to be understood. What are the parameters that define that I am recovered or a survivor is recovered, which is not touched upon?
When we're talking about 2611, it's a very different kind of disaster to, let's say, an earthquake or a flood. What was your biggest challenge when you first had to engage with the survivors, and what did you feel was the biggest obstacle in terms of actually reaching out to them, getting them to open up, and understanding their vulnerabilities?
Yes, I would really like to speak about it. My book is actually divided into three parts. And why it took me around more than 6-7 months to incorporate all the 12 years into this book, which was a difficult part. But I tried doing it because I wanted to bring forth how I started visiting the survivors when the actual thing had happened, and how and what I saw, which changed me as a human being. When I visited a survivor, very well remember, and she just closed the door in front of my head, and I was taken aback. Is everybody going to be like this? How am I going to finish my assessment? That was my first day, and my book starts with that, like how I started getting into their lives, how many times I was failed, and how many times I tried again and again to get that assessment, and then work ahead from there. Because without the assessment, you cannot think further. So first, you needed that immediate assessment of these people, and as we move on, I go to the second part wherein I talk about the interventions that we started moving and what were the challenges, barriers, and gaps at that point of time, which I found working with the most marginalized people and the least resourceful one. So that was really challenging for me because all the people did not belong to Mumbai. They were migrants. There were so many disease. The women, the diseased men's wife, they lived in UP, Bihar, West Bengal even. So connecting with them was real problematic because we didn't have anything of that sort of collaboration, of coordination. How do you coordinate with the UP? Suppose that you want to visit somebody in Jhusi, how do you coordinate? Who is responsible person there? Who will listen to it? So it became very challenging for me. So this book in the third part deals with a way forward wherein I have suggested how we can move forward from here.